My name is Reynir Harðarson, and I'm the game director for Pax Dei. Pax Dei is an open world fantasy game in a living, breathing world which we can call home, where it's teeming with life, mysteries, and it's for you to explore. Imagine yourself if you are living in 12th or 13th century Europe. It's a very different reality. It's where knowledge has been lost and is getting rediscovered. It's where magic truly exists and ghosts exist and the myths are real. And this is kind of the inspiration we take to build it. It's basically going back to the roots of what fantasy means and building a fantasy world based on real-world mythologies. And so we go very much into the roots. So we're using a lot of medieval literature and medieval bestiaries and grimoires, using real-world magic, actual recipes for healing and ointments, and using the real-world magical properties of plants.
I'm Sokara. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Mainframe Industries. So Pax Dei, maybe the way to explain it would be, imagine you're in this amazing, beautiful world. It's huge, and you find yourself in a forest, and your mission is to find a plot for where you start building a home. And from that home, you will go on to adventures to explore the world. And this is the core of what you're doing as a player. But not only are you building that home yourself, you will actually find other players to build a whole village and do the adventures together and improve the quality of life of your clan, to be able to do all of this in this social fashion and really cooperate with other players rather than doing it alone. And seeing other people building similar villages and cities and being able to go to them and trade and do all of the social interaction you ever imagined you would be able to do the game. So with the lore, we have wanted to create something that is fairly deep and rich and grounded in reality, but something that is actually not a direct copy of any of the history. So there's multiple types of ruins, there's the dungeons, and you will be able to find snippets of the lore from the eras when these were created in the game itself. And part of the lore and mystery is also part of in the gameplay itself, so you will be able to find and examine things and actually then find snippets that help you find other places and make items in the game itself. And the area of the game that you will be able to play when the game launches is, we're calling it Gallia, and it's very similar to the areas of the world in southern France, with the influences from the Nordics where we're from. The development team were mostly Europeans. Obviously, we are living in Europe, where there's a lot of culture and lots of historical influences around us. So we're here in this 14th century castle shooting this, and actually I've been coming here multiple times, and seeing the evolution and history of Europe is obviously had a massive influence in how we've made the game, where all the items, all of the nature is something we actually see in Europe, and so we want to reflect this very medieval feel in the game.
With building the ideal medieval world, or fantastical medieval world, it's inspired by real world. The first region we are working with now is inspired by France. We call the region Gallia, and at the time, maybe 13th century, this is a very central point of Europe. So we're very much using the forests and the natural elements of southern France or the Pyrenees currently. And this means that the flora is authentic in the sense of the combination of flowers and wildlife matches. Here we have thousands of years of lore building, which we have in folklore and mythologies and and religions, and we built it straight into the game. If you find something in the game, it is highly likely that this thing actually exists in the real world, and you can read about it on Wikipedia. As an example, the legend of the basilisk. All right, how do you defeat the basilisk? We're not going to tell you, but there are a lot of folklore about how the basilisk is defeated.
The way we're thinking about the creatures is we talk about the subjective reality of people living in the Middle Ages. So instead of trying to mimic Middle Ages as they were, we're thinking about what were the things that people believed in the era, and all of that is real. So the deeper you start to adventure in the world from the safety of your home, the more fantastical things will become, the more dangerous the creatures are that you will be experiencing. And we're really, again, trying to draw from the lore of the Middle Ages. So if you've seen creatures that were believed to exist in the Middle Ages, you're likely to meet at least some of them in the game itself.
Same with the costumes. We have been researching medieval costumes from multiple areas, and we're kind of focusing on the 12th to the 15th century. And we're using the same colors, we're using the dye recipes from that era. But at the same time, it is kind of a cinematic reality. So the armors are, beautifully engraved, and it is, very beautiful things based on real-world items, because there's an amazing amount of stuff in the real world which is so incredibly well made and beautiful from these times.
And the gear that you're using, we don't have like deep fantasy gear with like fancy spikes all over the armor, as opposed to actually wanting to make something that feels very grounded and real, even if we made something that is like look extremely beautiful, like a lot more intricate than people would have had in the Middle Ages. So we want to have this level of fantasy and kind of like just awesomeness to everything we're putting into the game, while it all being very grounded in kind of what we've seen ourselves in what Europe is and like what the history of Europe has been.
And we feel that is a lost opportunity in a lot of fantasy games which kind of invent their own visual styles out of nowhere. And this kind of grounds everything together and ties it together in a very meaningful package.
So what we're building is, we're calling it the social sandbox. We're putting the least amount of barriers to entry on how you can actually interact with other players. Where most MMOs actually put a lot of blocks in how you can cooperate with the other players, and we're fundamentally different. So from the first minute when you start playing the game, you will be able to do everything you imagine with the other players. So you can trade, other people can actually help you. You can literally go onto a like dungeon raid from the very beginning of like you starting the journey in the game, should you find people who actually help you to do that. What we want to create an environment that actually really incentivizes people to play the game the way they like. And for some, actually like just going out to the wood and like cutting down the forest is something that gives you a sense of achievement, because you know the coal that you're helping to produce actually is valuable for the guild. Some people will absolutely prefer to just go to the dungeons. They couldn't care less about the coal production, but these players will still depend on each other, where there's valuables to bring from the dungeon, there's valuables to bring from the forest, and even the PvP players, they will be able to produce items that are only available through the PvP, but they will depend on the other players as well. So if you want to help somebody, give them items or like build something together, we always actually like really try to incentivize and like never put anything that prevents people from doing that. And the things we want to achieve with this is things like when a new player signs up, rather than them being something that for the experienced people, it being very difficult to play with that new player, we actually want that new player to be a very valuable commodity to the existing old guilds. So you actually want to get the new people into the guild because they can help you immediately. So for example, crafting the armors, you obviously need a lot of coal to be able to do the blacksmithing. And a new player can just like immediately after signing up, you can get them to your home, give them an axe, show how to cut down the tree, how to bring the wood to a kiln. And that's immediately valuable for the guild as something that the new player can do. And you will need to continue to do this even after you've been playing the game for a very long time.
PAX Day is very much about focusing on the player himself. So the hero's journey of each individual player is very much up to him or her, what choices he or she makes through the game. And more so than being an individual's hero's journey, it's also the journey of creating civilizations within the game. So you must start by building your homestead, join up with a few people, and you form a nucleus of village, which then grows into a town and even a city. And then you can build communal buildings like market squares, you can build churches, you can build blacksmithing guild houses, and then you can join up with other cities, you can form baronies, and you basically build civilizations within the game. And at the highest end, you're building kingdoms. And everything is focused on the player, both in cooperation, competition, and conflict, because we feel that's really where the magic lies in letting many people play together, rather than having everybody playing their own individual story.
Historically, endgame is defined as you first level up, and once you the level cap, the endgame begins, and you start, for example, like grinding for gear. Essentially, in PAX Day, you start at the endgame. Like we don't have a level progression. There are like means of progressing, but what we've created is an environment where you kind of get to choose the like how to play the game in a manner of like flexibility that you typically find only in the end game, and the end game style elements you maybe would find is like once you've been like exploring the world is there's a deep level of just basically politics that you can involve in because we have the communities building. Somebody's going to need to lead the communities. With PvP, you need to rally your troops to actually go and do things, and you will be able to do things like corner the market in how like people are able to get resources and who are the best crafters. So there's this deep layer of social interaction that we're building into the game, and all of the kind of things where you can be like a master of in the real world, you kind of can master in PAX Day.
All of our systems tend to focus on this, not only in like clan tools or how the player economy is run, but also creating positions of power within the feudal system and within the organizations in the game. So this is a game where you build civilization from the ground up with all the positions of power involved in a feudal system, and we find that incredibly exciting. And this means that you don't start as a level 1 knight, you become the knight. You don't start as the leader of the guild of blacksmiths, you become it. And there's only one pope. So one of the things we find so compelling with the medieval times is that nobody really knows the extent of knowledge. Everybody's looking for, the Holy Grail or the Philosopher's Stone. And because so much knowledge has been lost and technology has been lost, in the dark Middle Ages, people are always on this quest of finding or rediscovering this, old magic, and there's something we want to recreate in the world. And you will find these mysterious things or parchments or paper, and you can actually, you can piece them together, and that's the way, to tell a story, both to tell a story of the world, but also to give you rewards which are out of the box.
So rather than being something that you go onto a quest and the quest giver giving you a piece of lore, actually we're weaving it into the gameplay in a manner where you actually are going to be finding it in the game.
Meaning that you might find a magic spell that nobody has seen before, and you might hear rumors about the magical spell that somebody found. So instead of an NPC like force-feeding stories down your throat, which you don't have time to listen to because you just want to get the XP and the gold, here you actually read books about locations in the world because they will reveal hints about hidden trapdoors, hidden secrets, hidden spawns. Something might happen on a special day or when the stars align in a certain way. And these might be simple things. You might find simple things and discover some magical items or secret door, and you can tell your friends about it. But these can also be very complex things where the whole community comes together to try to solve these massive mysteries.
But it's not only you. You will be playing in a clan and like building a village, maybe playing like interact with the multiple clans, and all of you will be able to build the knowledge around the world and like find things out. So again, what we have wanted to make is a world where actual knowledge by the players is valuable. And when you go somewhere and find a good spot for a resource, or you might find a recipe that allows you to create a magical item that like other folks like in your community don't know how to make, it's going to be up to you as a player to choose whether you want to share this information and because the information is valuable. And especially on the PvP, like you as a clan will probably want to hold on to information that you have found to gain advantage over some of the other players.
Our way of telling the story in the game is more that you play the world and not the world plays you. So you're not somebody's errant boy running around killing rats. You are the master of your destiny and you discover it on your own leisure. We don't do quests. So if we would do NPCs giving you quests, the game is kind of making a contract with you as a player that you're able to finish the quest. And it means the game is kind of holding your hand. You will not lose. But in our game, nobody knows if the dragon can be killed or how to kill the dragon. And this might be an incredibly complex thing to solve. And you would not get away with doing stuff like this in a single player game But when you have the community solving together like these massive mysteries, it becomes very interesting and it expands the possibilities on storytelling in amazing ways. We're using Unreal 5 as our game engine, and it has some really amazing features set in order for us to build these massive worlds. We have millions of objects, with millions of trees, with millions of flora and fauna that's living and dying and breathing, and you can interact with everything in it. You can chop down trees, you can pick up flowers, you can pick the mushrooms. But what Unreal enables us to do is that it enables us to render this crazy amount of items in photorealistic detail. And we built a very customizable system where you can mix and match everything together. You can even be wearing a dress underneath the plate armor, or you can mix chain with plate and leather and all kinds of customization options. And of course you can dye your clothes, have different color patterns, different weaves. So we might hide hints or riddles inside actual objects, and this is stuff you can find almost anywhere, and in this case it's found on a ring. What does this mean? What does Sanctus mean? Is it a hidden password for for a spell? Do you say it at the altar? What does it mean? And where did you find it? So this is a way to trigger storytelling. The interesting thing about folklore throughout the ages is that folklore are actually start out as true stories, whereas fairy tales are fiction, and that's the distinction between the two. Folklore often, handles about ghosts or spirits or some supernatural things, but in the eyes of the people, during those times, this is reality. This is real. Ghosts are real, and this is not disputed as any fantasy. And this is what we want to reflect. So when you're walking in the forest during night, you will find these things. You will find ghosts. You will find the spirits of of the past. And the deeper you go, the more mysterious and strange it becomes.
So you should definitely come to our Discord. We have a huge community. We're giving out content actually periodically there, so we're revealing more and more of the game. You can go to Steam, and we would love you to wishlist the game. That would be amazing for us. But crucially, I think the Discord is the best place to come to and just join the community there.
To get involved in PAX Day, you should go to our webpage, sign up for the alpha, go to the Steam, and wishlist us there, and join our Discord community, which is ever growing. It's very interesting things happening there, and I'll see you in game.
This is where we belong, exploring this vast and wondrous world. Its treasures call out to be discovered. Its ancient secrets beckon us ever deeper into the unknown. The further we journey from the safety of the light, the greater the rewards and the dangers. This world, it is for us. Here, together, we can build ourselves a home.
It's the game that many of us have been practicing throughout our professional careers to make.
And that's why everyone on the team is building this game, because this is the game that we've been wanting to play for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this project for 20 years almost.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We feel we're creating a common dream here, which is bigger than our own. PAX Day is very much what you want it to be. It's a world. It's a place which is real, feels real. It's always there. But most importantly, you're there with other people. And that's really what the Sandbox is all about. It is about maximizing human interaction in a meaningful way. And we feel, you know, this is the holy grail in MMO design.
So the name of the game, PAX Day, like we're calling the Divine Peace, and it's based on around the idea the way we're constructing the world is, as a new player, you start in what we're calling the Heartlands. So these are safe valleys in which you're allowed to build with your friends and form the communities and do a lot of crafting and have your villages in. And these are like the peaceful areas that are guaranteed to like not be very dangerous. So you're going to be in relative safety when you're in these areas.
So we have modularity built in how we do the visuals of it. The good thing about doing it that way is that we also then give players in the crafting part of our game a lot of flexibility and customizability. And we're pushing this very, very far for PAX Day.
For the player, we offer a character which has multiple different layers. So depending on what type of game you as a player want to play, you can combine these items which have specific stats.
The thing that I'm most proud about this game is the procedural costume and surface generator that I made for character art, which is a procedural way of controlling the metals and leathers in the game, how they behave and how they look.
All of it is meant to at least be, to some extent, historically accurate. It goes extremely in depth and it offers a lot of visual variety.
You can then choose to go on adventures and like exit the Heartlands and start go exploring and go to like PvE adventures that are much more dangerous and like experience PvP when you're outside the valleys and you're basically not protected by the Divine Peace.
What we have done is harvested a lot of myths and fables from stories around the world and implement them in our own way.
Magic is real. Ghosts are real. The extent of knowledge is not known. And this basically plays onto our built-in instincts as humans, you know. We like home, we like cozy, but we're still curious about the darkness, you know, and we also want to experience adventure and danger at some time.
There's more in this world than it might seem at first, and that also provides this sort of progression into the game. Like the further you head out, the increasing the dangers and also the rewards would be.
I think it will take a very long time if you want to really explore everything of the world. But yeah, it's going to be super big.
For PAX Day, we're using Unreal Engine 5, and this allows us to do incredibly vast worlds in incredible details.
We have this semi-procedural approach where the human makes the interesting and important decisions and then the computer fills out the rest.
You can change things in a really large scale in a matter of seconds.
Striking that right balance between areas that are nice to play in, but have those cool views and epic views of the mountains.
Currently, we're focusing on the PC platform, and we're focusing on launching it on Steam. We're also working on multi-platform. We have the game working for other platforms, and we already have prototypes of that, but the current focus is the PC launch on Steam. The ultimate idea is that we want the game to be playable from any device. It's a way to casually engage with the game, you know, maybe at work or, you know, or in the car. And it's very handy to be able to do this from any device, like a mobile device.
I have never owned a gaming PC, and I have always admired the beautiful worlds that PC players get to experience. And this is my chance, actually, as a more casual gamer, to join in on the fun, together with the core MMO players, having my own little niche thing to do in the world of Pax Day.
So if you like games that look similar, but like never experienced that in the context of MMOs, I'm hoping that this game is going to be the one for you that actually breaks the barrier and you want to join an MMO.
You know, it's both for very casual and very hardcore. And the beauty is when we have these two playstyles meet, that's where the magic happens, because they will need each other.
So experienced players can support new players, and new players can just get new gear and join their friends in an adventure.
As a solo player or as a casual player, you can provide like an incredible amount of value and kind of feed the market in your area, or like find the market that has some kind of need.
You don't need to participate in the big drama. But the fact that there is big drama happening in the world gives the world the context. You know, you will see the soldiers, you know, going to war. You will feel it.
Everyone finds a role to play because everyone in the world of Pax Day matters.
I got really excited about the game because I ran in the empty world. And I could imagine in my head, like at some point in years to come, all of these buildings will be built by somebody real, like an actual person. And that felt really nice. I want to be part of this, building this crazy world.
It's going to be a long journey. We view being the stagehands of Pax Day as being more like a marathon rather than a single performance. And that's kind of the key to standing up a world like this and also creating the team around it.
We are incredibly excited to see how players will build, you know, civilizations up from, you know, the small house into the small villages, into the towns, into the cities, you know, building out the infrastructure for farming and crafting and blacksmithing and alchemy and finding the resources and studying the magic.
Seeing things that we haven't even imagined so far.
You know, the hallmark of any good MMO is to have an initial theory of how the game will evolve, but understand completely that the game in 10 years, 20 years will probably be completely different from the initial game. It's the game of a lifetime.
I believe it's going to be something incredible.
I can't wait to people to play the game and see how they like it.
Yes, I want to see people's faces playing the game and discovering everything that we've prepared for them.
The stage is yours, and we just can't wait to see the world that you make of it. So please go to playpaxday.com or find Pax Day on Steam, wishlist us, and we'll begin opening up access for our first wave of testers before too long.